Thank you, Deputy Speaker, and it is a real thrill to be able to rise and speak on this bill this afternoon, a bill that I think has been listed and deferred maybe 6, 7, 8 times since it was first tabled in the House, and I've sat here 6, 7, 8 times waiting for the chance to talk about childcare policy in this country, and it just thrills me that you're in the chair when I get this opportunity this afternoon to talk about it. Also a big shout out to all the childcare educators who are still working on this late Friday afternoon as we sit, and many of whom will still be working until 6, 6:30, 7 o'clock. They work very long, hard hours. They are essential workers. They do some of our country's most important work. All of the data, all of the statistics say that the first 5 years of a children's life is the most important for the rest of their lives. And the PwC review said that for every dollar that we invest in childcare, the country gets $2 back. And I would note, when people talk about the cost of childcare in this country, getting $2 back means we're spending less on children's preventative health, we're spending less on children's welfare, we're spending less on children's justice. There is just not enough we can invest in this crucial area, both for the well-being of our kids and for the economic productivity of our country. And it is disappointing then that I rise to speak about a number of small but important amendments this evening, rather than any broader vision for the country on childcare. And I say that because the government sent out earlier this week Government Senator Gerard Rennick, patron senator of mine, big shout out to Senator Rennick, to speak about childcare. And you know what he said? His fresh, modern, forward-thinking, future-oriented approach to childcare was to say, you know what? One parent should stay at home, and one child should stay at home with that parent. That's what the children want. And Dorothy did not say there's no place like childcare. Dorothy said there's no place like home. It struck a chord. It struck a chord, and the fact that the government would send someone out to say that in all seriousness, and for us to have to actually address it as a colleague in the Australian Parliament really beggars belief. And I think it tells us all you need to know that it is a 1939 movie that Senator Rennick quotes when he talks about his vision for Australian childcare moving into the future. I will note that the amendments that the government has proposed today are good ones. They are important ones to help vulnerable families. They help the childcare centres who support those vulnerable families in reducing their bureaucratic red tape. We support them. We're glad to do it. But we can't let this opportunity pass without noting that there are big and important reforms to go in childcare, and this is a missed opportunity to make those reforms. Childcare in Brisbane costs around an average of $112 per child per day. The average monthly mortgage in Brisbane is $1,885 or $62 a day. So it's roughly twice the cost of your mortgage per day on a daily basis to put your child into childcare in Brisbane. It is a huge amount of money. Childcare costs on average absorb 27% of a household's income, of a family's income, 27%, which is on par with about 30% for the average mortgage. It's also risen 150% in cost since 2001. And I'll note that the now Prime Minister, then Treasurer, introduced childcare reform packages a few years back, and they were designed to reduce the complexity of the system. That's what they said, that they were simplifying the system, merging two payments into one system. Everyone would be happier with a less complex system. But on the 2nd of April, when the Childcare Minister announced the COVID response package for the sector, he said, now this is a very complex system that we're grappling with. Well, is it? Didn't you just make changes a few years ago to reduce the complexity of this system? You can't have it both ways. But I will concede that I agree with the Childcare Minister on that point. It is a complex system, and parents find it very complex to navigate. Centres find it very complex to navigate. We could make it a lot simpler. We could make it free, for example. But if you're not going to do that, we could at least fund it properly. And that starts by addressing the problems with the COVID revision package. Childcare workers did some of our most essential work during COVID, and they do not deserve to be the first people off the boat when it comes to being kicked off JobKeeper. They deserve our thanks, they deserve our respect, they deserve better pay and conditions, and instead what they're getting is first off the life raft. See you later, educators. It is a disgrace. The government has this week, in fact this government could move an amendment on this bill to fix that problem. I urge them to do it, because when they talk about JobKeeper, they should have— I'm glad they didn't call it Promise Keeper, because now they'd be in a right royal pickle if they'd called it Promise Keeper, because it is nothing but broken promises, and soon it will be lost jobs as well. I would note that we've just had an MPI on the construction stimulus package, and I would note that this is a male-dominated sector where the average worker receives far more than the average taxpayer, yet they have received a targeted stimulus package from this government. The childcare sector, 97% dominated by women.
Order. After